Welcome back to Gold Fries. In this video, I'll share with you 10 reasons why you should consider this Maxsun H610 ITX 2.5G motherboard for your small form factor builds. Yep, 10 reasons, because this board is actually feature rich and it really went under my radar. I've known of this board being around, but I didn't know that it's such a feature-packed board. So let's dive into the details. The first one is not actually the feature, but rather why is it such a something that you can consider, because the price is just RM 449. So in US dollars, it's about what, 100? Less than 100, definitely less than 100. So that at this price point, it comes with the 9 features that I'm going to highlight next. Starting off with the Debug LED. Yes, a lot of ITX boards, especially at this price point, does not come with Debug LED. And this board, it not only comes with the Debug LED, the Debug LED actually looks nice, well spaced, well lit. You know what the process, what's going through in the process. Now, you're not going to exactly do tuning on a H610 board like this, but definitely it is helpful to know the process in case anything goes wrong, like memory or whatever else, you know. Good to have. Definitely, I like the Debug LED on this board. Now, the next thing is, as you can see, VRM Heatsink. It's not the beefy type, however, it is good enough to provide sufficient surface area for heat dissipation, especially if you're using downdraft CPU coolers or tower coolers. And it's not just one VRM heatsink over here, but it is also with another VRM heatsink at the top area. This is definitely handy when you are going to use a higher end board like the i5 or i7, maybe a non-K, definitely a non-K model. But yeah, it is sufficient. I would say the heatsink here is sufficient. And why are there 2 heatsinks there? It's because of the third point, which is the number of VRM phases. It has 10. Boards like this typically come with like what, 6? This one has 10 VRM. Again, this is very handy when you want to use the higher end CPU. So definitely i5, i7, they're ready. This board is definitely ready for you to go that path. After that, what else is nice about this board? Fan headers, 4. Nice. A lot of ITX boards, 3. Typically I see 3, but this one has 4. 2 at the top here, 1 at the front, and 1 for the rear. Really nice, like 1 for your exhaust, 2 for your fans or heatsink and a fan, and the front one for the fan. You can split around. But we're having 4 fan connections. This means you have less headache. You might be using splitters and all that, but more this fan connection definitely is handy when it comes to a motherboard like this. Small space, you don't want too many wires around. Having those connectors are good. Next up, clear CMOS pin. Why do I like this so much? I know you are not going to be tuning on a H610 board, definitely so, but I need to highlight this because this is definitely something Maxsun did put their thought into placing at the upper corner, because I have many ITX boards over the years and some of them have had the audacity to put the pin right at the PCIe slot, which doesn't make sense at all. You have a graphics card on the system and you're tuning, you want to clear the CMOS and it's hidden down there. Yeah, you have to remove the graphics card, which is insanely troublesome. And I can share with you that for those boards, I actually bent the pin outwards, knowing that it will not break, but I am actually modifying the board, bend it outwards, place, you know, the reset button pin wires, extend it someplace else so that I can reset the board. That's how bad it can be on some boards. So while this is not going to do much other than being helpful for reset purpose, I think it's something worth highlighting. Definitely good job from Maxsun on this aspect. Next up, expandable Wi-Fi connection. This board, it may not have an M.2 Wi-Fi slot. However, it does come with an add-on module that already comes with, how you say, you know, those things where you can screw antenna on, yeah, those kind of things. And what you can do is you could purchase an external M.2 device, connect to here, you know, actually attach to the device, connect to this part, and you have an and you can attach your Wi-Fi antenna, which is very handy. I've not seen any motherboard makers, whether it's ITX and micro ATX or ATX, I have not seen any that comes with those kind of modules, which I'm actually really impressed by what Maxsun did. That module, while you may not actually use it, at least you know that if you want to use it, it's there for you for your Wi-Fi connectivity purpose. Really handy. So you lower the cost that it does not have any Wi-Fi module, and if ever you decided not to use LAN or not to use USB Wi-Fi, you can purchase some, let's say an AX210 Wi-Fi card to use with the Wi-Fi module. Splendid stuff from Maxsun over here. Up next, another thing that's interesting. Mini ITX board, typically 2 output, maybe 1, I've not seen 1, I think usually 2. And some boards, micro ATX, you might see 3, like DVI, HDMI, this display port. Some of them has VGA, up to 3. But this Mini ITX board also has 3 outputs. And it's not just 3 like those you having DVI or VGA. It actually has 2 HDMI and 1 display port, which is very nice, especially if you are running a compact system and you want to output to 3 monitors. Like say you want to monitor your crypto, your stock exchange, your forex, whatever. This is nice. Get an i3-12100, then you can output through these 3 this output ports, display port and 2 HDMI. Really handy. Most monitors these days have HDMI and display port, so you wouldn't have to have headache on looking for something that uses VGA, let alone DVI, which I've not seen any monitor that has that recently. So yeah, really good stuff again on this really affordable board. And up next, a really also surprising good job to Maxsun for this one, for color coding the front panel. I know a lot of people have this issue with front panel, you don't know which one is for what, but they actually color coded the front panel. Unbelievable to me. I've always admittedly seen this not pay much attention to Maxsun's motherboard, but now that I did, unbelievable amount of details put into just a product. So if they keep going at this pace, I think they'll go somewhere. So yeah, the color coded pins on for the front panel, really great stuff. In fact, I think motherboard makers should consider doing so. It will be helpful, especially for newbies, or just you want an indicator. I mean, even for myself, if it's in a dimly lit area, at least I can see the pins and their colors. It's actually very helpful. And lastly, something that is nice to have, but I don't know, some of you may like it, steel reinforced PCIe slot. Not a deal breaker to me, but again, it's good to have. This means for the whole board, you are getting, instead of getting those cheap looking PCI connections, you are getting one that is steel reinforced, which I think once again adds to the value of this motherboard, which I think a really great job from Maxsun. So with all that said, what do you think? Do you agree with me that at the price of RM449 and with those 9 things I've highlighted, wouldn't that make this board really of great value? I think so. And the only thing I wish to highlight about the board, which I think is their shortcoming, would be the updating of BIOS, of which it is unlike any other manufacturer where your BIOS is updated through the interface, you know, to connect, place the file in USB, upload through the update through the BIOS interface. It does not work that way. So I spent a bit of time on the BIOS looking for high and low for the usual areas where you can update the BIOS, but I couldn't find it. So I end up going to Google, search out, and you know what? I found some information, and it seems that, oh, you have to put it in your drive and all that. Yeah, but the drive, you cannot just put in any USB drive. I placed it in mine and it did not work, and now I found out that the drive has to be formatted to FAT32. And guess what? To be in FAT32, the capacity of your USB drive must not exceed 32 gigabytes. So I had to go through my stash of old USB drive. Luckily, I found one, and I managed to place that file into it and update. And the update is not, again, not through the BIOS. You have to reboot the system. It will go through that USB and initiate the update. And another funny thing is that the file that I tried to download was detected as a virus. But fortunately, this was at a later stage. So while I download and before it managed to finish scanning, somehow I managed to extract the file that I needed and put into my USB drive. So thankfully, the BIOS is with me before the zip file was removed. So I've highlighted this issue to Maxsun and hope they handle the matter. Regardless, I managed to update my BIOS. Before I update my BIOS, I couldn't run the RAM to XMP. But after the updated BIOS, I see more options. I see in-BIOS flash. Finally, it's called some easy flash thing. So before that, there was no flash thing, but after that there is an in-BIOS flash. And finally, the system was also able to run on the XMP profile. But yeah, I digress. But this is the part. So generally, it's positive. Just that I would like to highlight that area about the BIOS update for your information. Well, with that said, great board, huge. Kudos to Maxsun for a board of such value, so many features. And for the rest of you, I hope you like it too. And I spoke so long, my lights went off. That's it for this one. Do remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.